We are live now.
Right. Thank you, Ron. Good morning, everybody. It's 9 a.m. on Tuesday, September the 15th. I'd like to call this Personnel Committee meeting to order and acknowledge that the press and public have been duly notified. In accordance with the Freedom of Information Act, we are meeting virtually due to the COVID-19 pandemic. I'd like to kick off the meeting with entertaining a motion to approve previous meeting minutes.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right. Moving on to public comments. We did not receive any public comments for this meeting, so I'll move on to item 4, old business, for an update on the wage and compensation study.
All right, good morning, everyone. I'll give you all a quick update on the wage and compensation study. We are a little bit delayed on our original schedule for issuing the RFP and receiving proposals. As you all know, last month, the WNET received an offer to become the Human Resources Director at another organization. And at that time, our focus became in transitioning that role temporarily. Some of the duties that needed to be continued, albeit temporarily, and starting the process of finding her replacement. So what we have done so far with the scope of services for this project is discuss it with all of the department heads and get their feedback on the scope and sort of the expectations of the work plan to make sure that it meets our needs and our expectations as department heads. And that feedback has been received and incorporated into the scope. So I think we're very close to getting that document ready and advertised. So the same schedule that we had for September, we'll just push it through October. And I'm hoping that by October, we do have proposals and we do have the ability for the committee to interview these companies and hopefully make a recommendation. So we're just a little bit delayed, but we'll continue to chug along and try to get something under wraps soon.
Questions from the committee?
Well, Desiree, are there a lot of companies out there that do this sort of work? I mean, is it? Do you foresee having kind of a drawn out process to choose someone, or is there someone that's that we're pretty familiar with that we think we can go with pretty quickly once we make the decision?
It's interesting because when we've reached out to other municipalities, they all have used a different one. So there's not one that we know that consistently work with municipalities, particularly our neighbors. I want to also get companies that have worked with similar sized municipalities such as ourselves. The company that helped Mount Pleasant is actually the one, I believe, the one that did the city's compensation study 20 years ago. So there's several. I don't know if the big ones are going to be interested in submitting for a smaller organization. I'm not sure. I don't know really how many would apply, but there's several. There's certainly several that have worked that we know of.
Okay.
Mr. Chair?
Yeah, please.
Please, when we do this, I would like to make sure that whatever group that we choose not only looks at cities our size, but looks at cities that have this similar type of economic makeup, coastal cities that depend on tourism, that we have high seasons, we have low seasons. Mount Pleasant to me doesn't compare. Wilmington, Myrtle Beach, Pawleys Island, Folly Beach, even Sullivan's Island really doesn't compare to us. Even though we're sister cities, our economies are completely different. But, probably in the 3 or 4 states up and down the coast, there are other communities roughly our size, even in Outer Banks, that are just like us. They depend on people coming to visit, and they have the same kind of makeup where they have year-round residents, they have second home residents, and they have vacation rental residents. And those are the kind of, economies I want to compare to.
Yeah, and knowing that we have to really, on our workforce, we have to really increase it during the high season. What impact that has on labor and compensation, and how do we be competitive there? You know, beach service officers, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah. And my only comment is just to push for the urgency, just because we'll be really tight on getting this in before budget season. And
Agreed.
specific kind of timeline to get this in. So,
Mr. Chair, one more quick comment. My second one and last one. And again, it's like Rusty said, in summertime, we're busy. Our police, our fire, our sanitation are really overworked a lot in the summertime, but in the wintertime, they're very slow. And we can't just hire people for 3 months, police officers or firemen or public works personnel for 3 months. They want jobs that are year round. So we have to be realistic that, this is the kind of economy we live in.
mm-hmm.
So anyway, last thought, I'm done. Thank you.
And just maybe this is a reminder / question in case I'm wrong, but my assumption is this is really a compensation and benefits study. It's not looking solely at compensation. It's looking at the whole package of this is why somebody, basically assigning value to everything that we provide for our employment.
Yes, we're on the same page there. Yeah.
Excellent. Okay. Any other comments before we move on to new business? Yep. All right. New business. Item A is an update on the employee appreciation event.
All right. So we are planning for an event to be held next spring, hoping that by then COVID has we've passed that page. If not, we are planning for an outdoor event that we can safely and easily social distance. We've discussed this with the department head group about some options. As you all know, the budget for this year's employee appreciation event was reduced from $11,000 to $7,000 due to the impacts in revenue due to COVID. So we're looking at ways that we can save some money so that the monies that are budgeted are kept towards the gifts for the employees that are recognized and the food. The biggest expense in the past has been obviously the catering, but also the tent and the setup. So we're looking at options to cut that cost. One option that we talked about was having it at the recreation center. Some of the challenges with the recreation center is that even during the day, it's heavily used by folks, the grounds and the facilities. So we're looking at ways of how we can mitigate that. Another option that was discussed was having it at the Exchange Club. The Exchange Club has a brand new renovated facility in front of the water, and they have offered the city at no cost using their space in recognition of the hard work of all of the employees. There would only be a small cleaning fee of $250. So that is another option that I think that we would consider. I think it's a very generous and very kind offer from them as we are looking for alternatives.
Mm-hmm.
So that's pretty much where we are, just planning for a spring event and looking at venues. And once we nail that down, then we're going to start planning about, for food. And, in the past when we've had other events, the police department has their event. It started doing an event to recognize the police officers and give out the awards. And they've been very blessed to receive donations from island businesses. So we're expecting that we would be able to benefit from that same generosity of folks who work on the island, that appreciate the hard work of all city employees, particularly this year due to COVID. I think we're going to be in good shape, and we're going to be able to do something really nice and very special for all employees next spring.
That's great. Yes, Mr. Mayor.
I got a wild idea. And Desiree and Gabby have joined the boat club, and they're starting to learn the outer islands like Capers Island and Bulls Island. And I was at the police station the other day, and I was talking about a recent trip to one of the islands, and they're going, man, that sounds so cool. So many people have not been to an island that's been undeveloped. Talking about Capers or Bulls Island, and seeing alligators and stuff like that. You know, we've got some tenants down at the marina, that the Barry Island Eco Tours that carry 40 people per boat. To take we would have to do it in 2 different trips, because we can't take everybody at one time, because we've got to have people working. But to show them what these islands used to look like before we came and put all these damn houses and businesses and cars and people. And anyway, to me, I think it would be kind of a cool thing to show our employees what the Barry Islands used to look like many years ago, hundreds of years ago. Just as a wild idea.
Good idea. Logistically, I mean, like you said, it would have to be worked out as to how you would handle something like that, to have everyone there, maybe 2 different outings or whatever, but it certainly would be a beautiful venue and something unusual, quite honestly. So
Yeah.
I like the idea of the Exchange Club too. The Exchange Club has done a nice job down there of renovating, and and it's good that they're offering to do that. That new dock that they've got, when they had the dedication, went out on that, and that was pretty nice. So it's good of them to offer that as a venue as well, if something else doesn't work out. So
yeah.
And I think that initially the goal or the vision for this event is to have everybody together. And y'all recall last year when we had all those games, and people were just having a blast playing together, and that was real cool. And I think that, if we change the venue, I think that the idea that the mayor brought up sounds very interesting, and I'd like to doodle on that and see how we can logistically pull something like that off. But I'm thinking that even if the city used some of those services, and maybe raffle, include those outings for gifts for the employees, I think that would also be pretty neat. So we'll take that into account and think about it and see what we can come up with, and it'll be different. Which I like. I think that the first 2 were a huge success, and maybe COVID has made us have to reinvent a lot of things, and maybe we'll continue this tradition, even if it's a little bit different. It's still do something really special.
Cool. I'll react a little bit. I really like the mayor's idea, and Desiree, I was going to go in the same direction as you. I think it might be something that would be more valuable to give an experience versus, I think I use my tote bag almost every weekend. So the tote bags were great from last year, but I personally am a big fan of giving experiential gifts and creating memories. And that might be a kind of blended alternative, is partnering with Barrier Island Eco Tours or someone like that to say, hey, everyone, we're giving you and your family an outing to be, taken at your leisure. That said, I do really, if we could figure out a way to get everybody out there. I don't remember if it's Barrier Island Eco Tours or another of those companies, but they do a low country boil out on Capers, and they do everything, and it's a really fantastic event that is kind of just a nice, really nice. So something like that in the future, maybe not this year with COVID, I don't know, and again, there's no way we could get the entire staff to leave the island. So we would always have to split up into multiple groups to do something like that. And I understand the idea. Okay. The spring timing, makes sense, I guess, from a planning perspective, obviously with COVID, certainly. My only question about that is just related to staff perception, and communications, and ensuring that, you know, the rationale behind any changes is very well understood across the board, because instill confidence that this is still happening. We still want to appreciate you. And essentially, I would say it's still happening in the same fiscal year, but from a calendar year, the expectation might be that we're going to have two, and we try to get back on track to the October employee appreciation event in 2021.
Mr. Chair, I mean, do we normally do that in October? Is that, I mean, last year, it was done right outside of City Hall right there, right? Under the tents, so.
First two have been behind the City Hall, and they've been between September and October, that time frame, right after the big
Right.
summer.
Right, okay.
And Mr. Chair,
Mhm.
in years past, we've tried different things. We've tried the Charleston River Dogs, and the turnout. We've tried the aquarium as experiences, and it's kind of hard to bring everybody together, at these different things. So, I kind of lean back towards, like you said, the experience, something that's so cool. And I did talk to Barry Allen, and they do the boils and stuff like that. And there's oyster season, they'll do oysters, but for anyone to see an alligator laying across the road as you're walking down the road, if that doesn't give you an experience that you'll remember for the rest of your life, I don't know what will. So I'm 66 years old, and it still gives me excitement.
I think those are all great ideas. And, as soon as we nail down and agree on a date, we'll send a memo and an invite to all employees and just explaining what we're doing and why we're doing, so that everybody, understands that we're just pushing it due to COVID. And the weather will be nice, and it'll be right before we gear up for a busy summer season with state parking, hopefully. So it'll be a good kickoff for that. So it'll be cool.
Okay, moving on to item B, discussion of utilization of benefits. I'll give a little bit of a preface here. I asked for this to be added to the agenda just to, it's actually somewhat relevant to the wage and compensation study and thinking about the benefits that we provide and the benefits that are used by our staff. And I couldn't remember, Councilmember Streetman, how much of this had been shared with you previously. And for my own benefit as well, just to kind of be reminded, there's some things that we do as it relates to reimbursing employees for educational. We have the new EAP stuff that has been utilized a little bit during COVID-19 times. And I just wanted a quick kind of executive summary of, here's some of the highlights of things that we offer and how much they're being utilized. So thank you, Desiree.
So we have a tuition reimbursement program. Every year we have a group of folks that submit a request for continuing education, and the city covers 100% of that. There is a formula there based on grades and participation, and we have never had any issue with the folks that participate. For FY23, 3 employees ultimately received tuition reimbursement for a total of about $23,422. The budget was 43, but we always have folks that submit it early on, but maybe don't complete all classes as they had initially planned. And then this year for FY21, 8 employees submitted a request for a total of about $72,000. And as of this month, the 3 employees have been actively participating in the program. So that's something we're very, very proud of. It's not something that a whole lot of other communities offer, and something that we want to pursue and encourage folks to take advantage of. We also have the employee assistance program. We've had that type of assistance, not through First Sun, which is our current provider, in the past, but First Sun has really amped up their marketing and outreach to the employees. And when that was wonderful, it, reminding employees that these were benefits that were available to them and their families. Financial counseling services. I mean, there's just a whole slew of services. And I know of a handful of folks. Obviously, this is confidential. And so I don't know and don't want to know and should not know who is participating in that. But I've had folks that mention in passing and in confidence that they've used it and they're very pleased with it. Not only them, but their families as well. We reached out to EAP to get just a count of how many employees have participated, reached out to their services. We haven't received a response back. That's something that their first line employees that respond to the phones don't have that information. But again, I know folks that have used it and have been pleased with those results. There's a toll-free number, so the employee doesn't have to go through HR or their department head to access those services. Some are referred, but usually folks just reach out on their own. And that's another thing that we constantly encourage folks to take advantage of. Other benefits that I don't think we talk enough of is years ago, City Council, I believe it was City Council approved about 30-minute wellness period. And that means that employees are able to take 30 minutes during their workday for wellness, whether it's to walk, do some exercise. And, that is, one of my goals is to encourage people to take advantage of that. Sometimes there is this stigma about, leaving your desk for about 30 minutes if nobody else is doing it. But it does make a huge difference. I will say I have taken advantage of it, not as often as I should, but sometimes a good walk down the beach and return to the office does help clear your mind. And that's something that I think is a huge benefit as well. And employees and department heads should be encouraged to take advantage of it. Then what else? As you all know, we provide 100% of healthcare coverage and 50% of dependent coverage, which again is a huge benefit that is offered by the city, has been offered by the city, and we don't talk a whole lot about it, but it does end up, it costs money. I think it's money very well spent. And something that, again, not a whole lot of organizations offer at this point. So something that the city should be very proud of. Was that quick enough?
Yeah.
Thank you. Go ahead, Councilmember Schuman.
Yeah, just a couple of comments. I mean, coming from the private industry world, I guess you'd say we had EAP and also some wellness period and things like that we're offering. That is really a great recruiting tool too, if you use it in the right way. When you're actually, I mean, it's just kind of, I guess they're kind of intangible benefits, but they really are something that you can use to really attract people if you let them know. We have the EAP programs in place. Tuition reimbursement 100%. I mean, that's pretty impressive in and of itself. I mean, coming from the private world, I mean, we reimbursed at 50%, after someone gave us proof that they'd gone through a course and had passed it correctly, that sort of thing. But I mean, all of those are great selling tools, I think, that you can use to recruit and retain good employees. And we should play that up more than we do, quite honestly.
I agree.
Mm-hmm. It's a good update.
Thank you, Desiree. Mr. Mayor, any questions or comments?
No, I loved hearing all that.
Mm-hmm.
And the employee appreciation event. That's another event.
Yeah, Sorry, moving on to item C, discussion of the Leola Hanbury Award. And I probably should have put this on the agenda next to the employee appreciation event because typically, I shouldn't say typically because it's relatively new, but the plan has been to make that award at the employee appreciation event. So I guess the question would be, if we're moving the employee appreciation event to spring, are we also planning on giving this award at that point as well?
That's really up to y'all. I mean, I think that it would be it would be nice to keep it together so that we can make that announcement in front of everybody. Last year, I don't think we had a whole lot of time between announcing the Leola, because we just, it was recently created. So we didn't have a whole lot of time to advertise, announce, and request admissions from not only employees, but also from members of the community. And even though, we didn't have a whole lot of time back then, we received a lot of really good applications. And I remember how a difficult task it was to choose one from, all of our employees to me he's the employee of the year. But so it's a neat exercise. So I think that if we announce it later this month or maybe next month and give a little bit more time for folks to really kind of digest and submit a nomination would be nice. And then keeping the announcement and the recognition of the employee appreciation event. That would be my preference.
I agree with everything that you said, that more time. I mean, I think if we could establish an expectation and sort of a practice in the community of this being ongoing, like it's not just seasonal where I nominate somebody, but so that it's, related to the last great thing that a staff person did, but, okay, well, somebody did something great for me in June. I want to nominate them for this award that goes out in October. That should be, I think the hope that we have with this award is that always in mind, our community is thinking, we have a great staff, and I'm thinking about ways that I can acknowledge them and recognize them. And this award is one of those ways in which I can do that.
And we would have time, I'm sorry, Mayor, but I was just going to add quickly that, the mayor does a mayor's newsletter every other month. So that's something that we could potentially highlight, Mayor, for the next one. And also put some ads in the local paper for just every year, at different times of the year, just continue to remind folks that this is available. And we have a dedicated page on the website all the time. So that's, another place for people to get information about how to nominate somebody.
Mr. Chair.
Please.
And Desiree, I'm going to have to use your brain power because my synapses don't always connect. Leola Hanbury, one of our previous council members, a real big garden club member, she didn't have a lot of money. And when she passed, I think she left $10,000 to the city. Is that correct?
$25,000.
$25,000 for a lady who lived in a house who didn't have heating and air. But she loved this island so much that she left that kind of money for our employees. And I say that because I want people out there on All Palms who live, pretty well to realize that, our city employees are our most valuable asset. So don't ever be afraid. I'm going to throw some money out there to help fund this thing later because our employees are what make us who we are. And again, my hat's off to Leola. I look up at her and think fondly of her. And I think it's such a great idea of what she and we created together in her honor.
You would be proud of that park down there right now too. That thing's looking great.
Oh, it's beautiful. No waterfront.
City there.
Yeah.
Just a off the cuff kind of marketing thought. Once nominations do start coming in, it'd be nice to take an iPhone even and just go to the person who nominated an employee and just ask them, why did you nominate this person? And just put it on camera and just put it on our social media, things like that. People, I think, enjoy watching, and it will help reinforce the idea of wanting to nominate and talk about. It'll personalize much more than just the email nomination form of this is why this person is so meaningful to me, this person on staff.
That's a great idea.
Cool.
Okay. And finally, we've got an update on hiring for our HR and payroll officer.
All right, so 2 weeks before Lynette's last day, we started notifying and advertising the new opening. She helped in organize all the applications that came in during that time and made some recommendations. I really appreciate her help in kind of identifying some folks that would be able to replace that position here at General Government. We've received about 50 applications so far. The deadline originally was last Friday, but as we were going through the applications, we felt like it would be a good idea to open the deadline for applications again. So we changed the advertisement to open until filled. We have been seeing a lot of folks with maybe payroll experience, but not a whole lot of HR experience, and then vice versa. And this is a somewhat of a dual role. So we just wanted to have an opportunity to receive more applications that we could evaluate. Ron and our schedule includes scheduling some Zoom interviews for first round for later next week. And the second round, so once we'll do a virtual call first, and then we'll start bringing folks in for an in-person interview here at City Hall. So we're moving along. We don't want this position to be open too long. But yeah, we've gotten some really good applications, and we're eager to get some folks in the door. Any questions?
Yeah, I've got one. How are we going about advertising that, Desiree? Is it posted on not just the city website, but out throughout the industry? I mean, how's that being communicated?
Yeah, so we use several ways. We have sent it through the College of Charleston alumni listserv. We've also added it to the MASC listserv. And as soon as it's posted on the website, it's actually pulled by all these other companies such as Indeed. So we've received a lot of applications that they indicate that they've seen it in those types of websites. We know that people that have been interested in the past, we also send it to them. So yeah, we try to put it as broad as possible. I know Lynette, before she left, also shared it with the HR listserv throughout the whole state. So we'll just continually send a reminder and an email reminder through those listservs to make sure that folks are aware that opening is still available.
And we're looking for applicants who have both HR generalist experience as well as wage and compensation, kind of dual. Mm-hmm. That's good.
Correct. And also payroll. So we need somebody who has strong accounting skills, so that they can take on those roles as well. So yeah, it's going to be, it's not impossible, but we just need to find somebody who has some sort of experience in both realms.
Well, there's a lot of people that, in the HR arena, I mean, having a little experience of that in my past life too, that, that have done both. I mean, they've come up through the HR channel, so to speak, and they've done wage compensation, that side of the house, and also moved into the the generalist area too, where they're dealing with associate issues, the legal side, that sort of thing too. So we ought to be able to find a pretty good pool out there that fits those qualifications, I would think.
I have no doubt that we will find the right person to do that. And ideally we have somebody who has some municipal experience, but even if somebody comes from the private sector, it could easily, I mean, you would think somebody could transition into that role without having a whole lot of municipal experience. But that is something that we're looking for. I mean, that would be a huge plus for sure.
Right.
Yes, sir, Mr. Mayor.
When we do this, number one, we wish Lynette the best in her future with Hanahan. I was always impressed with our personnel when they'd go into her office, and she took a really close hands-on approach with each and every employee, and I respect that. But when we look for somebody to replace her, whether we're replacing a police officer, fire person, public works, city staff, you know, we need to describe that we are a city family. We're a small city family. And, you know, we all are in this together. And who would have thought that this year would have as many challenges that we've had, but yet we're doing it. When I go to City Hall and I look at the smiles from everybody, I mean, that makes me feel good. You know, everybody gets along well, and you know, and we're taking all these challenges and stresses that are thrown at us, and we take it in stride and we keep on going. And that's the kind of person we need, is somebody who's going to work well with City Hall, work with our employees. And we have busy times of the year and not so busy times of the year. But again, Ron and Desiree, I don't envy y'all with all your interviews you can be doing on Zoom, but I thank you for doing it.
Of course. And you know, you said it. We are a very small community and a small organization. And, you know, every time I've done interviews, I stress on the fact that we all wear multiple hats. And, you know, I answer the phone here, and sometimes people get surprised when I say, hello, hi, City, thank you for calling City Hall, how can I help you? But, you know, at the end of the day, that's the kind of group that we all are, and how every department is. And we're hoping and hopeful that whoever replaces Lynette can continue on that same vein and help our employees. And I think we have a good opportunity there to just provide more services to employees.
Well said.
Excellent. Moving on from new business to miscellaneous business. The only thing I've got on the agenda is the next meeting at 9 a.m. on Tuesday, October the 6th. 2 questions for committee. Is that meeting time still good for everybody? And are there any other miscellaneous items?
That date's fine with me, date and time, so, and no other items for me.
I'm good.
Okay. No need for executive session.
Motion to adjourn.
Second,
All in favor?
aye.
Record at 9:37.